I think we need to become the change.
So Sam, first of all, thank you so much for talking to me today. It's been a long time coming, hasn't it? Something that we was doing a while ago.
My parents found out about EOTAS from you, so it's full circle. So
amazing. So the reason I wanted to talk to you today, Sam, we met, and I'll be really honest. Obviously, I know your parents and was working with them a couple of years ago, and then when you came on the teens group and we met, I didn't actually put the connection together. But when you came on that teens group, you really kind of blew me away just with your positive. It's the way you were talking, like you were so positive, and I think it was so inspirational for the other people in the group to hear you speaking about your journey as a neurodivergent teen, but also your kind of journey getting your EOTAS package.
That's really kind of you, and I'm so glad that you and others found me helpful. Since lockdown hit, I haven't been at school, and I fell into depression and anxiety. And when other people were going back to school, I couldn't go back to school. I was just so low in mood. I noticed how much, looking back, I was masking at school, and how that had a negative impact on my mood when I came home from school, just completely exhausted. And I knew that what I wanted to do was make music. And that's what brought me joy and allowed me to express my emotions so freely, just through a creative art form. And I know a lot of other people who are autistic also find this, that they really benefit from expressing themselves through an art form. And when I was at school, I remember just switching off, daydreaming, I actually imagined melodies in my head and just really, really wanted to go home and make some music. And in the school environment, I wasn't able to create anything. It just I didn't feel comfortable to be free about creating.
Well, it sounds like you were creating. It sounds like you were sitting there creating.
Yeah, wow.
And then you were probably just like, I can't focus on this other stuff that I'm meant to be doing. I just want to go home and like put this out of my head and onto paper or onto the computer, or however you do it. But yeah, I think that's that again is just the absolute beauty of EOTAS. I can imagine as well. I don't know if this happened to you, Sam, but I would get told off at school for not concentrating and not focusing. And it's because, you obviously had the music in your head. I had my own kind of like things that I was thinking about in my head. So like, again, that would make me anxious. I would be like, I need to concentrate. I'm going to get into trouble. But my brain wanted to do something different.
When I came home from school, I would be saying, I hate school. I can't remember anything that I've learned today. And I would come home really frustrated and upset because I want to go and do my music, but I have all this homework to do.
Yeah.
So I'd come home and say all this to my mum and dad. And then they went into school. They arranged a meeting with the deputy head and pastoral care teacher. And they just said, well, we don't see anything wrong with him. You can't see inside someone.
It just shows a lack of understanding, doesn't it? And there's another lovely young person that I interviewed last year, a girl called Dilly, who is autistic, dyslexic. She was in school. She's quite late diagnosed, and she basically sort of said what you were saying, that she was coming out of school having masked all day and actually coming up in like a skin rash because of the distress. And she said to me, because I wasn't flipping tables over and being very out out there with my anxiety, and I was just masking so heavily. She said nobody really kind of realised that there was anything the matter.
Or tried to realise. No. If school was less academically focused, I think that teachers would feel more comfortable to actually think, well, actually, is this working? What's this child's needs? And I think that is something that EOTAS is really powerful for, because actually you yourself as a student can say, oh, this is what I need. You can learn about yourself. You have the time and energy to learn about yourself. You're not feeling anxious so you have to mask. If society was more open and caring, there would be no need for autism diagnoses. I
totally agree.
It's the problem with the system, not the people. And I think that is something that's stressed. Like when people are not coping in school, it's a problem with the person or their parents, not the system. And it's not seen as the system is not working. And so the teachers will find any way to put it back on the parents, like, he looks fine, what are you worrying about? Then that prolongs the period of time when you're feeling really depressed or anxious. So,
well, I guess also there's this, you're kind of, it's like the school system is a bit like a conveyor belt, isn't it? Yeah. And I guess if you're on that conveyor belt and you're really struggling and you're feeling, your mental health is really impacted by that, but you're surrounded by other people on the conveyor belt who just seem to be, they're coping and they're doing their homework and they're doing really well, or perceived the perceptions that they're doing really well. That makes you feel even worse, doesn't it? Because you think, well, how is everyone else managing? What's wrong with me? And again, I think that is, again, the beauty of EOTIS, is that you're taken off that conveyor belt and you're on your own journey.
And nurturing your path as well. So making it a very worthwhile path and one that is a very strong, clear path. Avid Beats. Might be helpful to introduce myself. I'm Sam, Avid Beats, and I'm a music producer, singer, songwriter. I've been diagnosed autistic and recognize myself with PDA traits. So I need autonomy to thrive in my learning.
How long have you had your EOTIS program for now, Sam?
So I'm now 17. I had it since I was 15 in 2022, but I consider myself having EOTAS, or self-directed learning, since 2020 when lockdown hit. So it was kind of building up. Something needed to happen, I think. Since then, I've been self-directing my learning. Since I've had EOTAS, my life, it's completely changed for the better and completely positive.
And I think the other thing you've mentioned is so important as well. And this is something I experienced as a neurodivergent child growing up in school. I didn't see the point in so much stuff that I was being taught.
Yeah. What I've noticed from what I'm doing in music, in collaborating, in writing press releases for promotion, it's English, but it's not how you're taught so rigidly in school. It's English, but you can apply it to what you're doing. And that is what is so meaningful about EOTAS and the options that it gives you. When I want to learn something or actually see the point in learning something, I will go ahead and be like, well, how best can I learn this with it feeling manageable? So I will learn something when I need to know something. Say I needed to know a production technique in my music. I'll go on YouTube, I'll go on forums, and I will dig around and find something out.
I don't see EOTAS as being kind of an interim fix. It's not something that should be just seen as okay. There are some young people that I've worked with who have actually willingly gone
Yeah.
back into
Yeah.
more of into a school.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of our year 11s will go into college because that feels to them again a more autonomous, interest-based course that they have to do. But I think that for some young people, EOTAS is only ever going to be the best
Absolutely
thing for them.
I do have a couple tutors, but the way it's set up is much more collaborative, and how they seem to understand.
That word collaborative is so important for EOTAS, isn't it? So I now say I don't describe myself as a teacher or a tutor. My job is to become a learning facilitator.
Being a collaborator, learning collaborator, even like I
love that. I might have to steal that, Sam, because I love that as well. And learning and collaborating together is so much more enjoyable as well. I can't imagine as a tutor or learning facilitator, learning collaborator, I would never ever go to a young person's house and then sit there watching them while they're sitting there doing the work. Like, that'd be really boring for me.
We choose the tutors on a website called Superprof. The main tutor is my guitar teacher. He comes to my house every week for about a 2-hour, I would say, lesson. But what we do is different each lesson. He's a musician, guitarist, singer himself. And I actually felt really inspired by his music. He might suggest, oh, look, this technique I found is really cool. Shall we try and learn this technique together, and we'll practice it together. And we might then use that technique in our lesson and start a little project, like a little song or instrumental with this new guitar skill. I might discuss, because he's also made his own music videos himself as well with a videographer. And we might discuss, because a new venture of mine is making music videos. And so we might discuss a music video I'm working on, or a song I'm working on. He might have ideas on mixing, even though he's not necessarily a producer. He still has great ideas on production. But yeah, it's just a really collaborative lesson, just as we've been talking about on the meeting. And then my second main tutor is a production tutor who I have lessons online, but in a written form, which is the most helpful for me to implement into my production. So I might send him one of my productions that I've worked on and ask for mixing and mastering feedback or production feedback. And he'll come back with a really succinct PDF of bits that he thinks that I could work on, and screenshots or videos, sometimes screen recordings of how he might go about doing that. He might not do this with another person, but he's been able to understand my needs. I occasionally send to another production teacher or another one, so I might find some more on this website. And it's an idea to actually meet them in person in the future. I've really enjoyed actually finding out about just new ways of learning, because going back 4 years, I had no clue about any of this, and I was struggling at school, and now to know about myself, not just about the options, but to actually have had this time to learn about myself. It's been really life-changing actually, and it's so valuable for the future and my future life. So
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And I think, well, one of the things that I feel really strongly is that, society puts so much focus on children being in school.
Yeah.
And like school is seen as the kind of where children should be, and there's this perception that the best place for children to learn is in a building, in a school. And you and the other young people that I support who have EOTAS packages are proof that that is not the case. And I think we need to get the word out there. But there are other ways for young people to learn and thrive and be successful.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Yeah. I fully agree with that. And what I've noticed is that actually everybody is learning throughout life. Why focus the only point a person can learn as their school years? Whereas actually throughout life, even at 80 years old, 90 years old, 100 years old, I speak to my grandpa and very grateful that he's so interested in my business because he's actually a businessman himself and learns very much like in a self-directed way.
I think what I love about EOTAS as well is just had a sort of vision of like, it's like a roundabout and you've got all these different junctions off the roundabout and you can just keep driving around and think, oh, actually, I'll take that junction today. Yeah. I just love the way that it can be so child-led and goes back to what we were just saying earlier is like, if you're interested in what you're learning and you're leading the learning and you've got these collaborators there with you to sort of support and guide you when you need it, of course you're going to enjoy the journey so much more. And you're probably going to get to the end, to the destination quicker as well, because you're doing it on your terms.
Absolutely. I think EOTAS is especially important for people who have strong interests. Some people actually suit school as society has made it. And I think it's important to recognize that difference in everybody. Everybody is different. And I see that a lot of people could benefit from EOTAS that aren't being given that opportunity. And but some people might actually suit society's school system much better. So I think that just not having the freedom to choose, like, this will work for me. There's so many jobs that aren't covered within the school system.
Yeah, and you're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the other thing, again, that I see my tight learners, my EOTAS and people that I see and support, I see that they are picking up skills because they've got an EOTAS package that the young people that in school may not be, because they're going out into the community and they're learning to use money and they're budgeting. They're doing all of those things that they don't teach you in school. And I think they're finding, like you use the word, I think you use the word joy earlier. They're finding joy in the things that they're doing that they wouldn't have the opportunity to do if they were in school, and they're learning from that. It's incredible. I have to tell you, Sam, I spoke to another young person last week, and they are in year 6, so they're like 10. And he said something which just proved what an incredible brain he has, but he also said something that I just thought was so true. He said that the world has developed due to humans being able to think abstractly. And school stops you, it removes your opportunities and ability to think abstractly. And my head was like, you don't have to do a certain thing on a certain day, and learn a certain thing because that's when the curriculum says that you have to do it. So that brings me on to my next question, Sam, which is what does your EOTAS package look like? So you said you've got 2 tutors that you work with.
Wake up with a sudden feeling, life's changed, got a whole new meaning, new face, new...
I'll have like a project that I'm working on. This guy asked me to do an official remix of his song. And so currently I'm collaborating with him. Different stages of the release will have different aspects of it. So currently it's the artwork we're working on. Currently it's a remix, but I might also have been working on like a music video, or some days might be dedicated fully to promotion, just marketing. So I've been getting more into the PR side of things, so writing a press release, submitting to blogs, playlists, labels. Then sometimes I might be asked by a singer or songwriter to make an instrumental for them for one of their songs, or they might want to sing on one of my pre-made instrumentals. So I'll be networking with them. It's basically setting up what it will be like as a professional. Already feel like I'm halfway there.
I was just going to say, you must be years ahead in terms of your music kind of career. You must be years ahead compared to where you would be if you had stayed in a traditional school system.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because there's just not that opportunity.
So many of the young people that I work with who have EOTAS are autistic or autistic with a PDA profile, and they are some of the most creative, imaginative people that I've ever met, and they need that freedom and that autonomy to be able to just really make the most of it. School so compartmentalizes your life, doesn't it? It's like you go to school, you come home, you do your homework, and then you have your home life. EOTAS, it just blends.
I think one of the most important things, it really sets you up for what you see yourself as in a few years' time. So in my situation, this kind of lifestyle is kind of what it will look like when I'm professional. Just that what I'm building is a portfolio of my work instead of qualifications for music, especially, and any other art-based work. It's a portfolio rather than a qualification that matters, I think, most.
Yeah. And amazing experience. You're obviously already networking with lots of different people, and you've got, you're developing quite a name for yourself through social media as well, which again, at 17, you're probably years ahead of some of other people that want to do this, because they're still in that system, that school system.
Yeah.
But I also
What's sort of next for you, Sam? Where do you see yourself sort of moving forward, like with your plans in the future?
So just really continuing what I'm doing. So I've built quite a clear path, as I was saying. So I'm really hoping to be quite a versatile artist, like all-encompassing. So from my work on production for other artists to making my own songs, singing and songwriting, to making guitar melodies for other producers. Then field recording and then sound designing my own sounds that can then be used as, it's like a Foley artist in TV. You might use it as sound effects, but in music, you can use it as sound effects, but also as drum samples, actually, like percussion samples.
there is a world behind the clouds.
It has allowed me to explore all the different feelings I felt as an autistic person. One day you might feel really, really chill, really peaceful. You might feel sad the next day, but then you might feel really energetic and hype the next day. So it's a roller coaster, but learning how to manage that, both like through just the whole EOTAS package has allowed me to just be at one with my emotions, just let them be there. I think letting emotions be, not pushing them away or not putting them to one side, not feeling like you have to mask.
Would it be correct to say that EOTAS has allowed you to be your authentic self?
Yeah, absolutely. Imagine if I'd stayed at school, I'd have this period of time like a burnout. But later in life, when you've got other societal pressures, and it could have lasted much longer.
Sorry, he always has to get in on the action at some point.
My dog has helped me with regulating my emotions.
Is there anything else that you want to add before we wrap up?
Oh, well, become the change, I think.
Oh, I love that.
I think that we need to become the change. So
I totally agree with you.
And bloom like a butterfly's wings.
That's what you've done, isn't it? That's completely what you've done. You've been through this almost like this metamorphosis as a learner, and it's EOTAS that's allowed you to do that. I've got my slogan T-shirt.
Oh wow!
As well.
Absolutely,
which I wore when I went to pick my son's GCSE results up from school a couple of years ago, because I'd had so many letters home from school about his behaviour, and this was my message to my son's school.
It's amazing to wear it with and wear your message. I think that's something that EOTAS has allowed me to feel confident with, and just learning about myself, I feel much more confident to express my needs. And in a non-violent way as well, because before, as a family, we've also been able to learn non-violent communication.
So having EOTAS hasn't just benefited you, it's benefited your whole family.
Yeah, I think absolutely that's very much the case. And I think we've learned about each other as a family and just care for each other more effectively.
Good. So I'm sure your parents must be so proud of you, Sam.
Well, I'm very grateful and proud of them, and for you being such an advocate for PDA, autism, and EOTAS, and that being the place where we learned about EOTAS being an option. Because before then, we just completely no idea. We didn't know about this. We didn't know where to look. But your Facebook was where we learned about it, actually.
And I hope that any parents that are listening to this are really inspired. I know that it can be such a fight, but please don't give up the fight. And like Sam is such a brilliant example of why keep going. And if you're a young person watching this and you're having a really difficult time, then again, Sam is such a inspiration, I think, to of what young neurodivergent people can achieve. And lastly, if you are from a local authority, this is why it's so important to these young people to get these EOTAS packages.
Yeah, and CAMS as well. Thank you so much, Laura, for this interview.
Thank you. You've been amazing, Sam. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me, and I'd love to invite you back again. In
more than a year. It's an honor.
I'm sure people would love to hear where your EOTAS journey has taken you. It takes you next, and I'm sure it will continue to be just as inspirational and amazing.
And keep up the great work with your EOTAS collaborative learning and your advocating, because it's amazing. It's really amazing.
Well, I will. I promise I will. EOTAS can be transformative, can't it? It can literally change people's lives.